I got a story out of Tampa, Florida today. Apparently, there was some protesters outside of a Publix along Bayshore Boulevard in South Tampa asking the public not to shop there. We'll find out why. So the group NORML, National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, claims a shareholder and a builder for the grocery chain has given $1.8 million in support of No On 2. I don't know about that. We're going to get into the numbers and all that. What they're doing is they're basically telling people, hey, the people that run this grocery store chain / pharmacy here, they don't side with the vast majority of Floridians on the question of medical marijuana. In fact, as we're going to find out, they're staunchly against it. If not them, but the group that lobbies against the amendment. So the campaign director for RegulateFlorida.com took part in the protests. He says that the people, the lobby that's fighting against Amendment 2 are fighting against the sick and dying. They're fighting against patients. It has to stop, and the only way to stop and the only way to make it stop is to make our presence known, educate people that these types of corporations are the reason cannabis prohibition still exists today and why it happened originally. Now, although, as you're going to find out, Carol Jenkins Bennett, the person who is the heir to the Publix grocery fortune and owns all the stores or whatnot, she put out a statement. It was kind of interesting. And as I learned more about the story, I realized how weird this statement is. So I'm going to go ahead and read you her statement. I am sorry that Publix has been brought into a personal decision that I made to contribute to drug-free Florida. Although I don't normally discuss the details of my personal opinions, I think it is important to clarify my position. I am not opposed to medical marijuana, but I am very concerned about medical marijuana passing through a constitutional amendment. Constitutional amendments cannot be easily changed when unforeseen problems are detected. Well, let's just stop right there. All right. If you remember, in 2014, I think that's when it was. Yeah, Florida attempted this before Amendment 2. It was the same name, but it was written a little bit different, a little bit looser interpretations of certain things. And there was the same group or a group similarly named, I don't remember, but they were in the fight against it then. And if you remember, it didn't win when it was voted for in November because it didn't get enough votes. There was some kind of a stipulation because of it being a constitutional amendment. It had to reach a certain threshold. I don't know what the exact numbers are. I don't remember. I think it was like 54%, or maybe it was higher, and I'm thinking 54 was what they actually got. It missed the threshold to pass the constitutional amendment by just a couple of points. So when we say constitutional amendments cannot be easily changed when unforeseen problems are detected, the thing about that is that's why people write things in the form of constitutional amendments, so that once they're there in the form of a constitutional amendment, they can't be easily altered and changed to curtail to special interests that would like to probably neuter these provisions or laws that are passed by the people, because these ballot initiatives to make constitutional amendments, generally speaking, are things that were petitioned for by the people, as opposed to legislative groups or even governors or lobby groups like ALEC. So let's get back to her statement. For a matter as important as medical marijuana, the details should be appropriately vetted and passed through the legislature. I know many Floridians are frustrated that the legislature has not enacted a broader medical marijuana bill, but I don't believe the constitutional amendment is the best solution. So basically all she's saying is hey, you guys are going to keep doing these ballot initiatives, but we're going to keep trying to stop you because we're going to keep trying to let the legislator write the law. And as I've said before in previous videos, when you get the legislators to write the laws, especially in these right-wing chokeholds like Florida, they're not going to help the people. They're not going to benefit the patients. They're not going to broaden safe access to medical marijuana for patients, and it just creates an environment where people are desperately seeking medicine that is supposedly allowed, and all kinds of trouble can happen, legal trouble. The medicine has to get there somehow. If they're not growing it right, you know, they got to smuggle it in from, I mean, it's a mess. So I encourage all Floridians and their elected officials to continue this important dialogue and to work together in identifying any changes that could be made to the current law to ensure Floridians have access to the medical treatment they need. Now, the problem with that is they already tried this. The legislators failed. So after 2014, legislators got together and decided to hammer out this medical marijuana thing. It has a name that sounds like it might be something good, but there's nothing good about it. It's a terrible law. Out of all the medical marijuana laws I've seen so far, I have to say it's the worst, most restrictive one. For many reasons, I think if I get time, I'm going to profile all the medical marijuana state laws and just tell you how bad they are because of the legislators that influence them or try to adjust them later or amend them or wrote them themselves, like in Ohio and a couple other states, Pennsylvania, maybe Illinois. So I'm not sure about Illinois, don't quote me on that. Anyway, so you got these people trying to stop the will of the people, literally, with money and with terrible propaganda. We'll get into that in a second. So let's just get right to it. When it comes to Florida, they're ready for medical marijuana. They've been ready. They were ready in 2014. They were ready before that. There's even people in Florida that say, hey, you can grow marijuana anyway, you know, like because of certain laws that they already have. They kind of give you ammo if you have to go to court if you got caught growing marijuana. For example, let's get back to the hard data. Polling for medical marijuana in 2016 in Florida, I skipped all the polls. There was about 8 or 9 of them, but the average of all the polls, for 69.3%, and against 23.3, undecided 7, margin of error about 4. So that's overwhelming majority of Floridians are ready for medical marijuana. And according to the Daily Chronic, Amendment 2, as of last week, is polling at 77% for it. That's pretty big. That's, in my years of following marijuana laws, that's probably the most popular medical marijuana proposal that I've ever heard of. 77%. Okay, so like I said, when the marijuana amendment failed in 2014, the legislature got together and they attempted to have a viable program that they wrote. It didn't work. And then this spring, having found out that there was, that John Morgan from People United for Medical Marijuana, the same guy that did it in 2014, he's at it again, trying to get marijuana on the ballot. So as soon as they found that out, their first reaction is, hey, let's go ahead and try to fix this amendment, or try to fix this this medical marijuana that we created. And they went back into session and they tried to, hammer stuff out, and they fought about this and they argued about that, and they didn't get anything done, and they ended up, the session ended with nothing being done. So they've proven that not only did they fail at making their own medical marijuana law, but they also failed at even trying to fix the one that they made ahead of this Amendment 2. Now, I hate these videos going long, so I'm going to try to get through this, but there's a lot still. Now, let's just say, let's see what this lobby is doing here. The lobby is called drug-free Florida. Now, that's the lobby that funds the anti-amendment to propaganda group, I guess you call it. They're called No On 2, or Vote No On 2. And when you look at No On 2, they are complete propaganda. There is nothing in there that was derived from studies or facts or anything like that. It's just telling you their opinion on what the finer points of the proposal are, which I did read the proposal for the amendment that you would sign, like if you went to sign a ballot. And it's modeled similarly to the Michigan medical marijuana law. I didn't see numbers in there. Like, they didn't have like patient limits and limits on exact quantities of plants and medicine that you could possess and grow and all that stuff. I didn't see those. I don't know if they're in it. You know, and a lot of times the ballots are abbreviated versions. It didn't say whether there was more to read. This is on the website, on the florida.gov site. And it was very abbreviated. It was like, yeah, read the PDF, and the PDF was just a copy of the ballot proposal that you would sign if someone walked up to you on the street. So anyway, let's look at what No On 2's finer points of their propaganda are. The first thing they're trying to tell you is that there's a pill mill loophole, which is ironic because pill mills are notorious in Florida for basically distributing opiates and benzodiazepines, just ruining people's lives with the overabundant supply of pills on every corner. So they call them pain relief centers or whatever, and pain therapy, and they always give it a fancy name that just kind of takes away from the idea that really they're just trying to sell pills. So they're trying to tell you that there's going to be thousands of these pot shops when the law changes. Who cares? There's thousands of pharmacies everywhere you go. There's liquor stores on every corner. Big deal. I mean, we're talking about medicine here. I don't even want to get into that. Pill mill loophole is what they call it? No. Debbie Wasserman Schultz propped up the pill mill industry while fighting this ballot initiative in 2014. If you want to look that one up, you can. It's a fact. So a lot of people, Democrats and Republicans alike, have been fighting this for whatever their own selfish reasons are, but the pill mill one that's